So we had to make up for the unfairness the Supreme Court set as a standard in this country. And the first bill that President Obama signed as President of the United States was the Lilly Ledbetter legislation that took away that unfair statute of limitations. So we stand here today with a woman on my left and a woman on my right who stand and have always stood for fairness for everyone. But today we want to talk about fairness to women. I so admire and appreciate the work of Senator Mikulski. And Lilly Ledbetter, that name is so great that across America, when you mention the name Lilly Ledbetter, every woman in America stands at attention, because what she has brought to the attention of the American people once again is how unfair the workplace is for women. The legislation we're trying to pass would build upon the Lilly Ledbetter legislation. It would allow us to stop retaliation from employers and ensure they can discuss wage issues freely with their colleagues. You know, this is America, and you should be able to talk to one of your coworkers. How much money do you make? How much money does she make? Without being fired. This is a common sense approach. So easy. 9 out of every 10 Americans support this. 90% of Americans support our legislation. 81% of men and 77% of Republicans support this legislation. Once again, Republicans across America can recognize what's fair. Republicans every place except those elected to Congress. Republicans in Congress disagree. So, once again, only Republicans are against this common sense approach. The Republicans, I repeat, who oppose it are the ones that are based here in Washington as members of Congress. The Republican nominee, Governor Romney, hasn't taken a stand on this issue. He should show some leadership and tell his fellow Republicans that opposing fair pay for all Americans is shameful. But, as usual, no one knows today where he stands on this issue. Tomorrow, he may be standing someplace else. But it's clear where Democrats stand. We stand for equal pay for equal work, and it's time for Republicans to stop denying the reality that millions of women face every day, and work with us to give women the pay equality they deserve. Senator Mikulski. I'll get that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Reid, not only for your words, but for your deeds to give us the opportunity to try to bring up the Paycheck Fairness Act. We are only 5 days from the 49th anniversary of the passage of the Equal Pay Act. In a very hot day in 1963, the United States Congress passed the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act. Women felt they were taking a giant leap forward and end discrimination in the workplace and end discrimination in their paycheck. But oh, it was not meant to be. Not only did they fight the legislation, but after it was over, they exploited loophole after loophole after loophole. And now, 49 years later, as we get ready to commemorate the passage of that act, we find in 49 years, we've only advanced ourselves 18 cents on the dollar. In 1963, women made 59 cents for every dollar that men made, and in 2012, we make 77 cents. That means 19 cents over 49 years. So it says essentially to American women, every 5 years, you'll make another penny. Well, let me tell you, as I travel around my own state, my own country, and my other colleagues, we know that women are mad as hell and they don't want to take it anymore. If they work hard, if they do the job, qualify for the job,
we are coming to a very critical vote. Today, we have the opportunity to address an issue that affects the bottom line of nearly every American family. The paycheck that American women take home at the end of each week or each month is as tied to our economic health as just about anything else. It's what helps sustains local businesses. It's what pays our grocery bills at the end of the month. It makes our mortgage payments. And ultimately, the pay that women receive as we continue to make up a larger and larger part of our workforce is going to be critical to the growth of this nation. Yet over the course of the past week, as we have debated this bill, both here in the Senate and across the country, we have been met by either silence or resistance from those on the other side of the aisle. Time and again, we have heard the same excuses on why we can't join together today to provide the guaranteed fairness that women deserve. First, we heard that this was, quote, unquote, a manufactured issue. But, Mr. President, if you talk to the American women all over our country, you will quickly learn what some of my colleagues have called manufactured is an all too real part of everyday Americans' women's lives. Women will tell you that at a time when families across America are struggling to make ends meet, equal pay for equal work shouldn't be a pipe dream, it should be law. They'll tell you that nearly 50 years after the Equal Pay Act was signed, the gap between what men and women earns is just as real today as it was back then. They'll tell you that women still earn 77 cents on every dollar earned by men. They'll tell you this gap undermines their retirement security because they receive reduced Social Security benefits. And then, most importantly, they'll tell you that women are not worth less than men. And, Mr. President, the other argument we have heard is that this critical vote is in some way a distraction from the economic issues that we face, as if somehow the pay of women, who comprise nearly half of all American workers, is not at its very core an economic issue. Let me be very clear. When women are not paid what they deserve, middle-class families, communities, and our economic growth pay the price. Let's just consider that in my home state of Washington, women still earn 77 cents on the dollar, or a pay gap that averages over $11,000 in lost earnings every year. Now, for the average family, that is an extra 90 weeks of groceries. It's 7 months of a mortgage payment, or 179 tanks of gasoline, all at a time when women are participating in the workforce at higher rates than ever before in our history. Surely, my friends and colleagues on the other side of the aisle realize this is not the time to be denying American families this extra income that they need to make ends meet. Surely we should be guaranteeing American women and their families the fairness that they deserve. Mr. President, this should not be a partisan issue. Throughout the history of the Senate, we have joined together to root out discriminatory practices and provide the protections that American workers deserve. Today, as our American families struggle, it's time to make sure that unfair practices are not contributing to those struggles. Today, we have an opportunity to close loopholes in the system that allows for pay discrimination, to create strong incentives for employers to obey the laws that are in place, and to strengthen federal outreach and enforcement efforts on behalf of women. Today, we all have an opportunity to say the status quo is not good enough. We have the opportunity to tell our daughters that we're not going to let another generation face a pay gap because we are unwilling to stand up and fight. We have the chance to improve our economy right now. So to those of my colleagues who claim to be so concerned about the economy and the struggles of the middle class, now is your chance to prove to your constituents you really mean what you say. Now is the chance to provide nearly half of all Americans with the economic fairness that they deserve. Mr. President, now is the time to guarantee American women equal pay for equal work. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor and yield back the rest of our time.
The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, hereby move to bring to a close the debate on the motion to proceed to calendar number 410 as 3220, a bill to amend the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 and so forth and for other purposes, signed by 18 senators.
By unanimous consent, the mandatory quorum call has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the motion to proceed to S 3220, a bill to amend the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 to provide more effective remedies to victims of discrimination in the payment of wages on the basis of sex and for other purposes shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka. Mr. Alexander. Ms. Ayotte. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Baucus. Mr. Beckidge. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bingaman. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blunt, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Boxer, Mr. Brown of Massachusetts, Mr. Brown of Ohio, Mr. Burr, Ms. Cantwell, Mr. Cardin, Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Coates, Mr. Coburn, Mr. Cochran, Ms. Collins, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Coons, Mr. Corker, Mr. Cornyn, Mr. Crapo, Mr. DeMint, Mr. Durbin, Mr. Enzi, Mrs. Feinstein, Mr. Franken, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mrs. Hagan, Mr. Harkin, Mr. Hatch, Mr. Heller, Mr. Hoeven, Mrs. Hutchison,
Mr. President.
Mr. Inhofe, Mr. No Way, Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Johans. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Mr. Johnson of South Dakota. Mr. Carey. Mr. Kirk. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Cole. Mr. Kyle. Ms. Landrieu. Mr. Lautenberg. Mr. Leahy. Mr. Lee. Mr. Levin. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lugar. Mr. Manchin. Mr. McCain. Mrs. McCaskill. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Merkley. Ms. Mikulski. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Nelson of Nebraska. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Paul. Mr. Portman. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. Mr. Reed of Nevada. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Sessions. Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Shelby. Ms. Snow. Ms. Stabenow. Mr. Tester. Mr. Thune. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Udall of Colorado. Mr. Udall of New Mexico. Mr. Vitter. Mr. Warner. Mr. Webb. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Senators voting in the affirmative: Akaka, Baucus, Bekich, Bennett, Bingaman, Blumenthal, Boxer, Brown of Ohio, Cantwell, Carper, Conrad, Coons, Durbin, Feinstein, Hagan, Harkin, Inouye, Johnson of South Dakota, Klobuchar, Lautenberg, Lieberman, Manchin, Murray, Nelson, Nebraska, Nelson of Florida, Pryor, Reed of Rhode Island, Shaheen, Udall of New Mexico, Webb, and Wyden. Mr. Udall, Colorado, aye. Mr. Casey. Aye. Mr. Casey, aye. Senators voting in the negative: Barrasso, Blunt, Coates, Coburn, Collins, Cornyn, Crapo, Enzi, Grassley, Hatch, Hutchison, Kyle, McConnell, Moran, Portman, Roberts, Rubio, Sessions, Snow, Thune, and Wicker. Mr. Isaacson, no. Ms. Stabenow, aye. Ms. Mikulski, aye. Mr. Johans, no. Mr. Alexander, no. Mr. Shelby, no. Mr. Dement, no. Mr. Johnson, Wisconsin, no. Mr. Inhofe, no. Mr. Cardin, aye. Mr. Brown in Massachusetts, no.
Aye.
Mr. Carey, aye. Mr. Cochran. Mr. Cochran, no. Mr. Merkley, aye. Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, aye. Mr. Rockefeller, aye. Mr. Corker, no. Mr. Franken, aye. Mr. Lugar, no. Mr. Sanders, aye. Mrs. Gillibrand, aye. Mr. Lee, no. Mr. Reed of Nevada, aye. Mr. Warner, aye. Ms. Ayotte, no. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chambliss, no. Mr. Risch, no. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, aye. Mr. Graham, no. Mr. Paul, no. Mr. Whitehouse, aye. Mr. Toomey, no. Mr. Leahy, aye. Mr. Burr, no. Mr. Bozeman, no. Mr. McCain, no. Mr. Menendez, aye. Mr. Tester, aye. Mrs. McCaskill, aye. Was that it for you? Mr. Heller? No. Mr. Vitter? No. Mr. Schumer? Aye. Mr. Hogan? No. Ms. Murkowski? No. Ms. Landrieu? Aye. Yes, you did. Mr. Reed of Nevada? No.
We better go.
Yeah, read this, and then we should recognize the leader probably.
Right. On this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 47. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion is not agreed to. The Majority Leader.
Reconsider the vote by which cloture was not invoked.
The motion is entered.
I now withdraw my motion to proceed to calendar number 410S3220.
The motion is withdrawn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move to proceed to calendar number 415S3240.
The motion is pending, and the clerk will report.
Motion to proceed to calendar number 415 S3240, a bill to reauthorize agricultural programs through 2017 and for other purposes.
Mr. President, I have a cloture motion to the desk on the motion to proceed to this matter.
The clerk will report.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, hereby move to bring to a close debate on the motion to proceed to calendar 415 S3240, a bill to reauthorize agricultural programs through 2017 and for other purposes, signed by 17 senators as follows: Reed of Nevada, Stabenow, Levin, Conrad, Bingaman, Cole, Leahy, Bennett, Coons, Franken, Baucus, Mikulski, Nelson of Nebraska, Klobuchar, Brown of Ohio, Merkley, and Casey.
I now ask unanimous consent that the mandatory quorum under Rule 22 be waived.
Is there objection? The objection is ordered.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Leader, may I yield, will you yield for a question?
For my friend.
Mr. Leader, I noted on the last vote you voted no. Was that so that the bill could be reconsidered?
I say to my friend, through the chair, there's no one in this body that has a reputation for a bigger and better fighter than Barbara Mikulski, senator from Maryland, senior senator from Maryland. And I entered the motion to reconsider the vote because I want the fight to continue.
Well, I would like to respond to the Majority Leader. We want to fight too. We thank you for your vote and your voice. I just want you to know that though we lost the vote today, we're not going to give up on this vote. It is a very sad day here in the United States Senate, but it's a sadder day every day when Paycheck Day comes and women continue to make less than men. We are sorry that this vote occurred strictly on party lines. Under your effort to reconsider, we hope to bring this bill up again. We hope to forge a bipartisan vote. But I just want to say this. You know, we're coming up on the 49th anniversary of equal pay for equal work. We're not going to let this bill die in parliamentary entanglements. The majority should rule in the United States Senate. And I just want to say this in the words of Abigail Adams. While John Adams and all the guys were sitting around Philadelphia writing the Constitution, she wrote him a letter and said, "Don't forget the ladies." And they did it for 150 years. And then they forget, too, to get rid of the loopholes in the Equal Pay Act now. Well, Abigail said, if you forget us, we'll foment our own revolution. And we're going to ferment our revolution. So I say to the women here, to the good men who support us, to the women out there in America, let's keep this fight going. Put on your lipstick, square your shoulders, suit up, and let's fight for this new American revolution where women are paid for equal pay for equal work, and let's end wage discrimination in this century once and for all.
Very much. Statement made by the senator from Maryland, as usual, and she will outline a way to proceed on this matter that will be dignified and strong. Mr. President, I filed cloture on the motion to proceed to this very important bill relating to farm programs in America and nutrition programs in America, extremely important legislation. I feel confident, and maybe that's a wrong thing to do in the temperament of the Senate today, but I feel confident that we're going to be able to complete this bill. It's an important bill for America, and it would be a good thing for this Congress to do this farm bill. The two managers of this bill, Senator Stabenow of Michigan, Senator Roberts of Kansas, have done a remarkably good job. This bill creates jobs and reduces subsidies by a significant amount. Where else would you find a bill that reduces the debt of this country by $24 billion? This is a fine piece of legislation, and I hope that we can work something out, that we don't have to have a vote on this matter on Thursday, that we can start legislating. We've had good fortune shine upon us the last couple of big bills we brought through here. We have had the managers work with floor staff to work on relevant amendments and then have a way of finishing the bill. I hope we can do that. I repeat, I have confidence in Senator Stabenow and Senator Roberts. They are very, very good legislators, and we need to proceed on this bill. This bill is not a Democratic bill or Republican bill. It's a bill for America.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Be happy to.
I want to say I agree with my friend in his comments about Senator Stabenow and Roberts. I consider them both my friends, and they're terrific legislators. I do want to go back to the vote that just occurred. I wanted to note that we had present in the chamber that some of the House members, women of the House, I think they're gone by now, but and it's to underscore the importance of this vote and what it means. And so my question goes to this. Is my colleague aware that women in their lifetime are so shortchanged that the average woman in the course of her career, by the end of her career, has made $400,000 less than her male counterpart? Is my friend aware of that?
Yes, in the state of Nevada, and I'm sure it's maybe more than that in California, in the state of Nevada, women earn they earn less than $400,000 a year. A man in his lifetime makes X number of dollars, and Nevada woman makes $400,000 less than that.
It's important for people to understand what just occurred, that we had a straight party line vote on an issue that impacts every single woman in this country. And I just think when people say if there's a difference between the parties, and, you know, I like working with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. I have good relationships with them. But for goodness sakes, how can you have a party to a person here that votes against equal pay for equal work? And I would close with this question to my friend. It is my understanding that 90% of the people support the idea of equal pay for equal work. Is my leader aware of this, and when does he think he might bring this back before the body?
I say to my friend through the chair that you are absolutely right. 77% of Republicans across America support this legislation. 91% of men across America support this legislation.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Senator from Michigan.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, before speaking about moving forward on the Agricultural Reform and Food and Jobs Act, I want to thank our leader. I want to thank Senator Mikulski, so many who have been, all of us together, bringing forward the issue of equal pay for equal work, and we intend to continue to focus on that until we make this truly the law of the land. Mr. President, I rise today to urge my colleagues to allow us to proceed to the Agricultural Reform, Food and Jobs Act, commonly known as the Farm Bill. And I want to first thank my friend and my colleague, my partner, as we've moved through the committee process, Senator Roberts. It really has been terrific working with my ranking member, Senator Roberts, and his staff. We've worked truly in a partnership, in a bipartisan way. I think that's reflected in the fact that this bill came out of committee with a strong bipartisan vote, 16 members, only 5 dissenting. And we are looking forward to working with all of our colleagues on the floor of the Senate to have the same kind of strong bipartisan vote as we move through the process in the Senate. 16 million people in this country have a job that relies on the strength of American agriculture. 16 million people. The Farm Bill is a jobs bill. Over the last few years, when our nation's economy has seen some very rough times, agriculture has been one of the few bright spots. In fact, in Michigan, during our toughest times in manufacturing, agriculture was growing 5 times faster than any other part of our economy. Agriculture is one of the only parts of the economy with a trade surplus, and I think it is, in fact, our #1 trade surplus. $42.5 billion in trade surplus. We're growing it here, we're processing it here, we're developing it here, and then we are selling it overseas, but the jobs are here. And this Farm Bill is all about keeping it that way. Last year, our farmers exported $136 billion worth of goods, which is a 270% increase in the last 10 years. 270% increase. This is about jobs, and we want to continue our leadership not only in the country but internationally in agriculture through this important bill. We also know that our country is facing serious deficits. Last August, the Senate passed the Budget Control Act by a vote of 74 to 26. That law created a deficit reduction committee, which we called the Super Committee. They set up a process to find significant savings. And I'm very proud of the fact that the agriculture committees came together in the House and the Senate, the chairman and ranking member in the House with myself and my ranking member here in the Senate. We did some very tough negotiating and made tough decisions and worked long hours, and we came up with a detailed deficit reduction plan. And I wish that we'd had that same kind of opportunity with every committee, because unfortunately in the end we were the only committee, agriculture committee, that did that. But we did our part, and we believe that the work we did in the fall helped to not only build relationships that are important to allow us to work together, but that we have now set up a foundation from which we have written what we call the Farm Bill, the Agriculture Reform, Food and Jobs Act. So we have built in to this bill real deficit reduction of $23 billion. And let me emphasize, the Agriculture Committee passed a bipartisan bill that strengthens the economy and cuts the federal deficit. Now, in this $23 billion is roughly 2% of what the Budget Control Act put in place in terms of sequestration next January of the $1.2 trillion, and we are roughly 2% of federal outlays in those efforts, agriculture production, conservation, nutrition, through the USDA. So USDA is roughly 2% of federal outlays. We are taking responsibility for 2% of the cuts, and this is more than is actually required in the Budget Control Act, and it's double what was recommended in Simpson-Bowles, and the Gang of Six. So agriculture is really doing its fair share, and we're doing it in a responsible way that focuses on reform and strengthening those efforts to make sure we have a strong agricultural economy, strong conservation practices, and support for jobs through energy, jobs, and other important nutrition efforts. We end direct payments. That means no more paying farmers for crops they don't grow, no more paying farmers when they're already doing very well. The biggest savings in the bill, in fact, comes from eliminating direct payments and consolidating 3 other commodity subsidy programs. America's farmers know that in order to lower the deficit, we all need to do our fair share. Agriculture has stepped up and is willing to do that. We also make sure that millionaires can no longer get payments from commodity programs. We tighten payment limits to half of what farmers currently are able to receive. We close what is known as the manager's loophole that lets people get farm payments when they aren't farming. Instead, we support a strong safety net based on crop insurance, based on risk. If you have a risk, if you have a loss, then it's critically important that we stand with American agriculture. We have the safest food supply, the most affordable food supply in the world, and it's critically important that we have tools available, risk management tools available for nation's farmers. We heard over and over again when Senator Roberts was in Michigan. I'm grateful he joined me. I was pleased to join him in Kansas. We heard the same thing as well as here in our hearings in D.C. and around the country, that crop insurance was the most important tool for our producers. And nobody wants to see a family farm, some passed down from generation to generation, go out of business because of a few days of bad weather or because of other changes in the markets beyond their control. I can't think of a more high-risk venture, frankly, than agriculture. And I think in my state this year, when it got very warm in February and March, and the cherry blossoms and the apple blossoms and the peaches and the grapevines all thought it was spring, and the blossoms came out, and then the freeze and the snow came, and we literally are wiped out on tart cherries this year, and sweet cherries and apples, huge amount, peaches, grapes, across the board, devastation. I can't think of any other business that has to go through that kind of risk other than farmers. So we put in place a strengthened program so that more specialty crops, more fruits and vegetable growers can get access to crop insurance, that we have new capacity to support expanded risk tools. And we supplement that with a market-oriented, risk-based approach that supports farmers in the bad times. Not a government check in the good times, but in the bad times we need to make sure that our farmers can survive and can thrive. This bill does not set a price, a government price. It focuses on the market, what's happening in the marketplace, the farmer choosing what to plant from the market. But we make sure that no farmer goes off the cliff when a price drops immediately, and that crop insurance is there for them as well. Independent economists have said that this is a fair system, that it's equitable to all regions and all commodities. We have a very diverse country. We know that we have colleagues that still have concerns, and we are certainly working with them to fine-tune this bill, but we also know that moving to a risk-based system treats all regions fairly. It's the kind of reform that people across the country, taxpayers, are asking us to do. And this bill is much, much more than just a bill related to production agriculture, as important as production agriculture is. I'm very proud of what we've been able to do in conservation. We've gone through every program, streamlined them, increased flexibility. We have done what families and farmers across the country are doing, analyzing every dollar, stretching every dollar, and frankly, we have a conservation title that does more with less. We've taken 23 programs, consolidated them into 13, and put them into 4 different areas with a lot of flexibility. And we are maintaining our conservation tools and strengthening key priorities. Certain areas that did not have any funding after this Farm Bill ends September 30th, we've been able to combine into a larger effort and be able to continue and strengthen conservation. And that's why we have heard from 643 conservation groups in all 50 states who support the approach we have taken in this bill. We continue the important work done in the Farm Bill around nutrition, helping families who are most in need. I've heard from so many people in Michigan in the last few years with the huge recession that we have gone through that never imagined in their lives that they would need help putting food on the table. They pay taxes all their lives, never thought they would have to ask somebody to help them get through the month for their children. But they are now in that situation. And I'm committed to make sure every single dollar goes to people who need it. We're cracking down on trafficking. We've had at least 2 situations in Michigan where lottery winners somehow maintained food assistance. Obviously, that's crazy. And so that will not happen anymore under this bill. Students who live at home with their parents who've been able to go through the loopholes and be able to get food help, not right, not where it's intended, we address that as well. And we make sure we tighten up any number of areas on accountability. And we know there are areas where we can make sure that there's accountability, there's transparency, and in fact, families in need know that they can help feed their children during these tough economic times. We're also recognizing the diversity of agriculture in America by strengthening support for fruits and vegetables and other specialty crops, making sure we're getting those healthy foods into schools, supporting organic farmers, farmers markets, food hubs locally. And that, by the way, also creates jobs. We're continuing our work on energy, helping farmers save money on their bills while getting America off of foreign oil. We're opening up opportunities for new innovative companies involved in biomanufacturing. This is an exciting area for me as we look at how we make things and grow things in this country and bring those two things together. I think that's why we have a middle class in America, because we make things and grow things. And biomanufacturing is the process of taking raw materials from agricultural products, whether it's soybean oil, corn byproducts, wheat husks, whether it's biomass materials, and using them to create products and replacing chemicals and replacing petroleum in plastics, for example, with biodegradable, bio-based products, which is very important for our future in so many ways. That's what the Agricultural Reform, Food and Job Bill is all about. As we go further in this debate, Mr. President, I will have much more to say about all the specifics in the titles, but let me just end with this before turning to my friend to speak. The current Farm Bill, the Agricultural Reform, Food and Jobs Act, the current Farm Bill expires this September 30th, right when farmers are getting ready for the harvest. If Congress cannot come together in a bipartisan way, like we did in the Agriculture Committee, like we did in the fall with the agricultural leaders, and pass this bill before then, it will create tremendous uncertainty and job losses in communities all across America. And it will have a serious impact on our economic recovery. I hope that our colleagues will work with us, will join with us to make sure that does not happen. We've received broad support for this legislation from 125 farm groups, healthy food groups, and other stakeholders. I'm very grateful that 45 of our colleagues on a bipartisan basis sent a letter to leadership urging that this bill be taken up. It's clear there's broad support in Congress and across the country for the Farm Bill. So I would urge my colleagues to let us begin the debate on this important jobs bill that affects 16 million people across this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator from Kansas.
Mr. President, I intend to give my full opening comments in regards to the Farm Bill tomorrow, but I want to quickly say thank you to the chairwoman for helping to bring us to this point. Thank you for your leadership. It has been truly a bipartisan effort. It's been a team effort. And I want to reiterate what the chairwoman has said. I want to tell our colleagues that this is a true reform bill. I could say that 10 times over for emphasis, but it is a true reform bill. It also reduces and streamlines the Department of Agriculture programs, long overdue. We cut $23 billion in mandatory spending, and it was voluntarily, without any direction from the Budget Committee or anybody else, and it's real money. It's mandatory money. Now, the Super Committee tried to work out a deal, and they weren't so super. They tried hard. I'm not trying to criticize. Tough deal. We're the only authorizing committee that I know of in the Senate that has voluntarily come forth and said, here is real deficit reduction in mandatory spending, over $23 billion. That's rather remarkable that people who tend to be critical of agriculture would all of a sudden discover that it is the Ag Committee, in a bipartisan effort, has cut real money, real mandatory money. How many times have you heard folks back home say, why don't you work together? Why can't we all get along? Why can't you reach across the aisle, accomplish something? We did that in committee with strong bipartisan support, and we achieved this true spending reduction. We eliminated 4 of the commodity programs. Just had a colleague come in to visit with me this morning. He said, you know, I looked at this farm bill and I couldn't figure out, it was so complex, I don't know how anybody could figure it out. And that's pretty true in farm country, too, trying to figure out all of the complexities. If you go down to the Farm Service Agency to figure out what's in each program, which one you should pick. We eliminated 4 commodity programs, made it much simpler. Strengthen and improve crop insurance, which is the #1 issue we heard in every hearing that we had. We've eliminated $6 billion in conservation spending while streamlining 23 programs into 13 to eliminate duplication. When have you heard that? When are you going to start to streamline and reduce and duplicate? We've done that. We've cut $4 billion in nutrition programs. Painful cut for some, I understand that. But it's not going to affect anybody's payments so much as it is the $4 billion. That's 82%, by the way, of the ag budget is in nutrition. And we've eliminated a grand total of more than 100 programs. Get this. We have eliminated a grand total of more than 100 programs. I don't know of any other committee that's done this, and authorizations totaling nearly $2 billion in reduced authorizations alone. Not only mandatory spending, but also $2 billion in authorizations. It is, as I have said, a reform bill. We need to get this thing passed. We need to get the Farm Bill passed. The current law expires on September 30 of this year. Failure to pass the bill means we revert to the permanent 1949 law that would provide absolute chaos in the countryside. We don't pass this bill by September 30, then we're back here voting on an extension. Who wants to extend the current Farm Bill? It's yesterday's Farm Bill. This is tomorrow's Farm Bill. We can't go back to 1949, and I do not think we need to be in any business of trying to extend the current act when we have a true reform bill and one that is fiscally sound. We need to, the big thing is we need to provide set guidance to our producers and their lenders, our farmers, our ranchers, our bankers, all up and down Main Street that depend on agriculture, every rural community, and for that matter, anybody who eats, every consumer. So we're talking about the hometown banker and the Farm Credit Agency so they can know exactly what this Farm Bill looks like when, as early as this August, they will begin to discuss their operating loans for the coming year. Now, I know that we are debating the motion to proceed at this time, but the chairwoman and I and our staffs are available. We're available. If you got heartburn, we're available. We've got the Rolaids. Don't worry about it. And our staffs are available. Come to us if you want to discuss a possible amendment. Come to us and talk to us. We are working together in a bipartisan effort. I urge members that intend to offer amendments, please come to us and allow us to begin working with you now. We stand ready and willing and with your help, able. I yield the floor.
This Thursday, it'll be in Boston. Okay.
Mr. President,
The senator from West Virginia.
I ask unanimous consent to speak as if in morning business.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I rise